travelers, it's Bre, your favorite tour guide. My Christmas wish this year is to have 100 subscribers. I'm pretty sure that's not going to happen, but a girl can dream. If you could please share this video with a friend, that would help me out a lot. Now, without further ado, let's get this tour started. Today, we're talking about the very cute and very tiny Arctic fox. Buckle up and let's go! The idea behind this build was to make it look like guests were on the inside of an Arctic fox den. These sneaky little hunters would build dens and tunnels deep within the snow. The U-shaped design of the pathways will allow guests to feel more immersed while viewing the enclosure. I mostly used curved walls to match the angles of the path and then changed different sections into glass instead of wood. Once that was complete, it was time to cover the pathways with a stone roof, and I used the terrain tool to do this because it's much faster than laying individual rocks. Another benefit of doing it this way is that the terrain paint tools can go over it, as it's actually just dirt. This will become important when we start putting in coolers and covering everything in snow. I know this is a very unnatural feature, but I wanted the terrain to blend in as naturally as it could. I covered most of the walls in terrain and left the windowed parts open. Just having a floating chunk of dirt felt a little strange. Then it was time to raise the walls in order to meet the roof. Next, I filled the walkable section with dirt to get rid of the grass. I felt like there was some touching up that I needed to do in order to get the terrain as nice as it could be. So while I work on that, let's get into our very first Arctic fox fact. There are actually 8 different recognized Arctic fox species divided by their climates and where they live. For example, an Icelandic fox and a Bering Sea Arctic fox live in totally different places and are genetically separate. In Planet Zoo, Arctic fox is a generic term used to represent all of them. After providing them with a little drinking/swimming hole, I placed down this coop-like structure and gave it some Nordic Viking charm. In the Arctic pack, there are many adorable Christmas decorations, including this woodland garland and these Arctic fox specific stars. I laid down a few Christmas enrichment items and another house for them to explore. Now it's time to make this enclosure look like a winter wonderland. I truly do love the different sizes of Christmas trees. And I was a little unsure of the foliage levels that our little Arctic foxes would enjoy, so I covered the rest of the enclosure in patches of this caribou moss. I do know that most animals in Planet Zoo are not terribly fond of the long grass, so I covered everything in dirt as a clear slate before adding in details like rocks and mud. and after attempting to smooth out a rough patch and moving on, I decided it was time to add in more enrichment items. One of my favorite things about Planet Zoo is how realistic they are with their enrichment. In real zoos, they often give canine animals dog toys because, well, they're dogs. And today we're going to do just that, with a red treat ball, a tennis ball, and a food roller. This is where our tour gets a little off track. I originally wanted to place in a speech booth as well as some of these cute starlights that we've used before. I even took the time to adjust them so they match the pathway and to recolor them from white to copper. But I did not notice that the electricity cannot reach this, so everything I'm laying down here is actually out of power. As you can see here, the blue circles show what is connected to the power grid. I tried a few different variations in an attempt to get everything connected. In the end, I decided to move the reindeer house and place a solar panel as close to the pathway on this side as I could. Not everything could be powered from this far away, but we'll work with what we've got. I put the reindeer house back and moved the tree to cover up my mistakes. Heading back inside, I deleted everything that did not have power. Now it's time to get the foxes in here and see how they like their new home. In the wild, foxes change their color depending on the seasons. In the wintertime, they have the super long fluffy white coats that you typically associate with them, while in the summertime they can be brown or tan or both. Our little lad here is showing off the brown coat that will stay like this all year in the game. So this is kind of funny. I wanted to see what it was like to be a person entering the viewing area. From this perspective, I could see that the front wall was a little bit boring, so we'll fix that later. I started meandering down the hallway towards the bigger viewing windows and took a quick little look outside this one. All of a sudden, they turned around and started running, and an alarm bell began to sound. I was very confused, so I stopped first person mode and checked on them to see what the problem was. Turns out the lynx has somehow escaped. If you remember from last episode, these crafty cats really are true escape artists. It appears that when building this enclosure, it somehow got rid of the unclimbable surface on the top of the fence. This is a pretty big problem because given the opportunity, I'm pretty sure a lynx would try to eat an Arctic fox. I quickly boxed up all of the animals for their own safety. In the wild, Arctic foxes don't have many predators and even take up scavenging roles when food becomes scarce. They have been recorded following polar bears in order to pick up any scraps that the bears may leave behind. Now to address the boring wall. There are these really cute fluffy Arctic fox details that I placed around the center. I do wish they were a little bit bigger, but these will have to do. Arctic foxes are extremely well designed for living in icy cold environments within the polar region of the northern hemisphere. They're quite a bit smaller and more compact than other members of the fox family, which helps reduce heat loss. With their super fluffy thick fur and stable core body temperature, Arctic foxes will roam all year with no need to hibernate. And there you have it. This video is short and sweet, just like the Arctic fox, but I hope you learned some fun things about them. All the information shared with you today come from the World Wildlife Fund, so if you would like to learn more about these shy little floofs, please check them out in my bio. Thank you so much for joining me, and if you liked today's tour, be sure to tip your tour guide by liking, subscribing, and sharing this video, and I'll see you next week. Okay, bye!